She told me not to be jealous. "That's inappropriate," I said with the kind of flat tone that ends conversations. She laughed, light and practiced. "He's married. It's professional." Still, something didn't sit right. Naomi had always been brilliant with words, each sentence tailored like a suit. Not quite a lie, not quite the truth. But this dinner? An 8 p.m. reservation with her former professor at a place known for engagement proposals and prix-fixe menus? That scratched at something deeper than insecurity. It pressed against instinct. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I waited until she was out the door, her perfume lingering like a whisper of something expensive and vaguely floral. Then I walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water I didn't drink, and stared at the fridge for a while. At the magnet from Tuscany, the calendar we never updated, and the bottle of wine we were saving for something special. Then I made one call. "Good evening," the hostess answered, bright and sweet. "Valenti's, how may I assist you?" I kept my voice level. "Hi, I'm trying to confirm a reservation for a friend, Elliot Rains." A pause, clicking keys. "Yes, here it is. Private table for 2. Anniversary setup, candlelight." She sounded proud. "Perfect," I said. "Thank you." I hung up. Didn't say a word. I didn't call Naomi. Didn't ask for clarification. I knew what she'd say. It was the only table left, or that's how they always set it up. Something smooth, something polished. She'd have a reason ready before I even finished the question. So I didn't ask it. Instead, I called the sommelier at Valenti's. Told him I wanted to send a bottle to table 7, the anniversary table. Something bold, expensive, velvety. I gave my name, spelled it slowly. I asked him to include a card. 10 words. "Hope you both enjoy the celebration." From her husband. No signature, no flourish. Just the facts, written like a verdict. Then I sat back in my chair, glass still untouched, and waited. Not for her, but for the silence that would fall the moment that bottle landed on the table. Earlier that afternoon, as Naomi stood in the mirror applying lipstick she only wore for client dinners or curated seductions, she tossed it out like a stray comment, casual enough to seem harmless. "Dinner with my old professor tonight. You remember Dr. Rains, don't you?" I glanced up from my tablet. "The one from Yale?" "Mm-hmm. He's in town for a symposium. We're just catching up." She said it breezily, like the idea of an intimate dinner with a man she used to admire wasn't layered with subtext. I took a moment, then offered a small nod. "Late dinner?" I asked, already knowing the answer. She smiled faintly. 8 o'clock. He's only in town for a night, so I figured I'd meet him after his keynote. I noticed she hadn't mentioned the name of the restaurant. I also noticed she didn't offer to include me. That wasn't oversight. It was design. Naomi had a gift for weaving just enough truth into her story to hold it up like a paper lantern. Bright, glowing, and hollow inside. "You could come," she added, almost as an afterthought. I didn't move. No, you said it's just catching up. I wouldn't want to intrude on nostalgia." She laughed again, but softer this time, sensing the distance I wasn't pretending to hide. "Caleb, don't start. You always do this." "Do what?" "This, the jealous routine." She grabbed her earrings, pearls, discreet but deliberate. "You don't have to worry about Elliot. He's married." I looked at her through the reflection in the mirror, met her eyes directly. "So am I." That gave her pause. Just long enough. Then she returned to her lashes, brushing on length and volume as if the moment hadn't fractured. "He's a mentor," she repeated. "This is purely professional." She had an artful way of saying things like they were already settled. That dinner with another man wasn't just justified. It was reasonable, almost obligatory. A woman meeting someone who once helped shape her career. How could that be anything but innocent? Still, I couldn't help but observe the choices she made. The perfume that was a little too intoxicating for an old colleague. The heels that made her taller, sharper, more commanding. The dress, new, unmistakably fitted, tag from Holt Renfrew still hidden in the bin under the bathroom sink. She thought I didn't notice, but I noticed everything. As she walked toward the front door, purse in hand, I said, "Enjoy your night." She hesitated, hand on the doorknob, then looked back. "Don't wait up." And there it was. Not "see you soon," not "love you," just "don't wait up." The words hung there longer than she did. The door closed softly, like a secret. I stood in the silence of our home, surrounded by framed photos of shared smiles, Sunday mornings, and carefully preserved vacations. The house felt suddenly artificial, like a memory we were still pretending to live in. I poured a scotch I didn't drink, let the ice melt as I replayed. The scene in my head. She believed she was too elegant to be obvious, that the shield of respectability, a mentor, a professor, a public dinner, would be enough to deflect suspicion. She didn't realize subtlety wasn't her invention. She was walking into candlelight with a lie tucked into her clutch. What she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that I'd already seen the end of the act. The script was clever, but the audience had already left their seats, and the bottle was already on its way. Naomi had barely been gone 10 minutes before I reached for my phone. I wasn't pacing. I wasn't agitated. I simply sat in the kitchen, the ticking of the wall clock the only sound as I scrolled through my contacts. I found the number for Valentes. No hesitation. No second guessing. When the hostess answered, she sounded young, maybe 22, trained to be warm but quick. I adopted a pleasant tone, not quite casual, but not probing either. Just enough charm to disarm. "Hi there, I'm trying to find a reservation for a friend, Dr. Elliot Rains. Could you confirm if he has a table tonight?" She typed, the click of keys carrying through the line. "Oh yes," she chirped. "Table 7, private candlelit setup. Anniversary dinner for 2. "Anniversary?" I asked, keeping the question light. "That's what it says here. Flowers on the table, bottle ordered ahead. Very romantic." My silence was brief, just long enough for her to ask, "Would you like to leave a message or join them?" No, I said calmly. Just helping him double-check the time. She confirmed it. 8 o'clock sharp. I thanked her and ended the call without a flicker of emotion. There it was. No confrontation, no imagined scenarios, just facts, unembellished and exact. The dinner Naomi had dressed so carefully for wasn't a reunion. It was a performance. And the role of concerned husband was never meant to be cast. Still seated at the table, I opened my laptop and looked up the wine list for Valentes. It was extensive, curated, expensive. I found a 2009 Bordeaux, the kind you don't drink by accident. I called the sommelier next, gave him Elliot's table number, and requested the bottle be sent mid-meal with a handwritten card. 10 words, exactly. Then I closed the laptop, folded my hands, and breathed. There was no need to rush, no need to show up and create a scene that would only hand her more excuses. Naomi didn't deserve anger. She deserved precision. She deserved to feel the soft, sinking weight of being found out, not shouted at, not slapped with accusations, but simply revealed. The kind of exposure that stings quietly, publicly, permanently. By the time I walked into the living room, the house felt colder. I noticed the fine dust on the bookshelf, the absence of her heels by the door, the faint echo of the last lie she told before leaving. She believed I'd be sitting here in anxious silence. She didn't know I already had the answers. At 8:37 p.m., the wine was delivered. Not too early, not too late, just after the entrees had been served, when the conversation would have grown comfortable, the illusion at its most believable. Naomi would be leaning in by then, her eyes warm with red wine and low candlelight. Elliot would likely be laughing, making quiet references to old lecture halls and moments he'd pretended not to notice her gaze. I wasn't there, of course. I didn't need to be. The moment had already been scripted. The sommelier approached their table with practiced elegance. He placed the bottle down with reverence, as though he were setting a final piece into an intricate puzzle. The label, rich burgundy with gold script, spoke of age, gravity, and occasion. He poured just enough into each glass to make it ceremonial, then handed Naomi a small envelope. Inside, the card bore 10 words in a crisp, slanted script. "Hope you both enjoy the celebration." From her husband. She read it aloud. That part I hadn't planned on. Maybe she thought it was from Elliot's wife at first, an ill-timed joke. Maybe the handwriting looked unfamiliar. But once the words registered, the air between them shifted. Elliot stopped mid-chew, fork lowered. The stem of his glass hovered, uncertain. Naomi froze. Her hand holding the card trembled, though she tried to still it by flattening it against the white linen tablecloth. The silence that followed was not dramatic. It was surgical. A simple note. A single bottle. And yet, it did what no accusation could have done. It turned the warmth of the candlelight into interrogation. It turned the music into background noise to an unraveling. The room hadn't changed, but everything had become visible. They didn't finish the wine. Naomi didn't touch her duck confit. Elliot, always the confident one, sat back and adjusted his cufflinks like he was trying to retreat into his own sleeves. Neither of them spoke for some time. They both understood that whatever excuses were forming in their heads wouldn't survive outside that restaurant. Other diners likely thought they'd just had an awkward conversation. Maybe an anniversary that didn't go as planned. But for Naomi and Elliot, that table had become a spotlight. Every shared glance now reeked of exposure. Every word that followed would be reactive, small, beneath the weight of what they'd just received. And me? By that point, I was walking into a hotel suite across the city. One I'd booked earlier in the week just in case. The kind with high ceilings and blackout curtains, where silence felt earned. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel triumph. I felt clean. Naomi came home to silence. No lights were on. The scent of the lavender candles she'd lit that morning had faded into the air, familiar but distant now. My car was gone. My coat, the one that always hung by the door, no longer swung gently when the wind passed through. Even the space on the entryway table where I left my watch at night was empty. It didn't take her long to realize. She checked the bedroom first. The drawers had been cleared. Not violently. There was no chaos, no overturned suitcases, no signs of anger. Just absence. The way a gallery looks when a painting has been taken down. Quiet, purposeful, hollow. She called once. I let it ring. Then again. The screen lit up, but I watched it dim and go black without moving. Her voicemail came 5 minutes later. Controlled voice, hinting at confusion. Not guilt, not yet. She was still composing herself, hoping the right mix of surprise and concern would bring me back into the story she wanted to retell. I didn't respond. Instead, I took a long walk through the city. The night air was sharp, almost cleansing. I passed cafes filled with laughter, couples leaning in close, new beginnings just starting. No one there knew who I was. No one knew what I had done that evening, how I had pulled a single thread and watched a marriage unravel with absolute stillness. By the time I returned to the hotel, the night had deepened. I poured myself a drink, not out of celebration, but out of ritual, the kind of quiet toast one makes to clarity. Then I opened my phone and typed a final message to her. You lied with elegance. I answered in kind. I didn't sign it. I didn't ask for anything. There was no anger, no last question to be answered. Just the end of a conversation that had already died somewhere between her choosing a dress and me choosing a bottle. Then I blocked her. She would read the message. She would try to dissect the timing, maybe even argue with the way I discovered it. But there would be no audience, no resolution, just that final line, measured, cold, and devastating. In another life, maybe she thought I would fight for her, or beg, or rage. But she never really understood me. I don't raise my voice. I raise a glass. And when betrayal walked in candlelight, I sent the bill with it.